everybody. I'm Bonnie Squires. I'm your host for Bonnie's Beat, coming to you from the services of Radnor Studio 21 through Zoom. And the Zoom webinars have been a lifesaver, absolutely. Our guest today is Elowyn Corby, who is the program manager of Vision 2020, which is the organization that's been running Women 100 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the amendment that gave women the right to vote in America. Took a long time, but we finally got there. Anyway, and Lynn Yackel is the genius behind all of Women 100 and Vision 2020. Hi, Elowyn.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, we have a lot to talk about because the coronavirus kind of messed up all the plans that we had for the various celebrations that Lynn Yackel had put into effect for, this was the 100th anniversary this year. So anyway, we've had to recalculate and adjust things, but we're going to talk about some of that today. Gender equity is the motto of Women 100 and Vision 2020. You want to talk about that?
Absolutely. So first off, you gave a very good overview to start off with. Vision 2020 is a national network of organizations and individuals that are committed to advancing gender equity. We are an entirely nonpartisan group based at Drexel, and we really view ourselves as a catalyst and convener for those who are committed to the ongoing work of gender equity. And like you said, Vision 2020 has been hosting Women 100, which is a celebration of American women marking 100 years since the hard-fought and hard-won right to vote for women. And it kicked off in August of 2020, and it's been running ever since. And like you said, there have been a lot of surprises that have come this year, and I think our whole network is proud of the ways that we've been able to figure out how to roll with the punches and make sure that we're celebrating women in ways that are safe, and really demonstrating a lot of the tenacity that is core to who women are and who women have been throughout American history, and making it happen regardless of the obstacles. So it's been a year of surprises, but there's a lot to celebrate.
Before the world shut down for COVID-19, I was able to participate in a small private luncheon at the Kimmel Center when Lynn Yackel launched the Seat at the Table exhibition that's in the lobby of the Kimmel Center. The Kimmel Center has been very gracious, and because a lot of people didn't get to see it because the world shut down and nobody could go anywhere, they've extended the length of that exhibition. So let's talk about a seat at the table.
Great. Yeah, so the Seat at the Table exhibition is one of my favorite parts of Women 100. This is an installation, like you said, at the Kimmel Center in Philadelphia, where there's basically, as soon as you walk into the Kimmel, you see this interactive exhibition up on the walls, on the floor, detailing the fight that women had to go through to win the right to vote and everything that's taken place since, with landmarks and key figures. And one of the things that I'm most excited about is the fact that we're actually revamping it now so that when the Kimmel Center reopens, and like you said, they have graciously agreed to extend the exhibition so that more people will have a chance to see it. It'll actually include information on the year 2020 and what this past year has meant for women, and where we are today.
Ouch. So you'll have to have a video of moms being teachers on Zoom, because that's been a main occupation of the mothers in America.
It has been a really tough year for women. There have been enormous setbacks professionally, personally, in terms of the role that women have needed to increasingly take on in the home, and at the same time, there is this ongoing theme, like I said, of tenacity and proving what we got and what we can do and how we can come back stronger.
Well, since you use the word tenacity again, let's talk about a taste of tenacity. That's always been a signature program for Vision 2020 and Women 100. Yeah. So it's going to be August 26th, right?
That's it. So the Toast to Tenacity has been an ongoing Vision 2020 program. Every year we celebrate August 26th, which is Women's Equality Day. It is the anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. So the amendment to the US Constitution that gave all American women the right to vote. And we gather together and celebrate the tenacity of the women who made it happen and the women who've fought for our rights since then, both and in 2020, August 26, 2020, we had a virtual Toast to Tenacity to launch our celebrations. On August 26th of 2021, we'll have a culminating event, this time in person, when we can recap everything we've done and the last 100 years, while also launching what comes next and looking forward. And that's really what we're focused on right now, is a bold new agenda for women's equity.
But the Toast to Tenacity does not involve alcoholic beverages, right?
That's a very important point. It does not involve alcoholic beverages. And the reason for that is a little bit interesting, which is that if you look back in time, this was actually taking place during Prohibition. And so the original suffragists, when they won, would not have been able to raise a glass of wine. What we do instead is we raise a glass of grape juice to mirror the history, which I always thought was a great, fun detail.
Well, we've got some feminist champions that belong to our region. Alice Paul, for example, who wrote the Equal Rights Amendment. There's an Alice Paul House. For a few years, I was involved with that project in South Jersey. But also, there had been planned a trip to, what's the name of the falls where the first women's convention was?
Yes, absolutely. So this is what you're talking about. There is the Road Rally. This is a trip that actually did take place from Philadelphia, the birthplace of democracy, to Seneca Falls, the birthplace of women's equality. This is where the first women's rights convention ever took place. And it was, of course, revamped because of the pandemic, but the Road Rally became a smaller group of women and women's equality champions, including some men who made
much smaller group.
What was that?
Much smaller group.
Much smaller group.
Initially, it was envisioned as having hundreds of cars lined up to drive between here and Seneca Falls.
Right. That was the original vision, but instead it was turned into something that we were able to take video of and pictures, and so the reach in some ways was bigger than it would have otherwise been because of the coverage. And we really got to dig into who the people were on this trip and what it is that we were visiting. But it's fun that you mentioned Alice Paul. She is, of course, a women's suffrage icon, and she also she has roots in the area. She went to my alma mater, Swarthmore College, where there's Alice Paul dorm.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm a University of Pennsylvania alumna.
Great.
Both my degrees are from Penn. So I was always aware of Swarthmore, but Swarthmore was more for nerdy kids, right?
Nerdier than Penn? I'm not sure. We might be able to compete on that front, but
probably.
Penn is a great school.
I play Jeopardy every night with two dear friends of mine, Sandy and Joe Ball. And then we call each other afterwards to see how many answers did you get correct? And we see who's got more trivia answers. So, but Jeopardy, I love Jeopardy. I love watching it every night. I really do. But speaking of Jeopardy, there's going to be another Congress from Women 100, right?
Absolutely. That's a big event that's coming up pretty soon, actually. It's June 15th and 16th. So Vision 2020 hosts national congresses where our national network of allies and delegates come together to reflect on what's happened and then plan our next moves. This year, it's a hybrid virtual event, so we're not asking our national network to travel. We are very conscious of public health and keeping everyone safe, but we'll be gathering to discuss where we are now and what comes next. Much of that program is focused on the Vision 2020 network, but there are a few pieces that are open to the public. So I absolutely encourage anyone and everyone to tune in on June 15th for first a conversation about what we've learned throughout both over the decades and throughout this year. This is co-hosted or hosted in collaboration with the Pew Research Center, and we'll be talking with a set of experts in an interactive panel, experts who can really lend insight into the place of women, the rapidly evolving role of women in today's society, the particular challenges that women of color are met with, and the impact that the COVID pandemic has had on women in society. We're very excited about it. It's going to be moderated by Supa Berry, which who's a personal hero of mine.
What's her name?
Supa Berry.
I don't know who she is.
She's fantastic. She's the head of Working Mothers Media. But certainly something for any listeners to look up. And then actually directly following that panel discussion, there will be an interactive tour of the Same Seat at the Table exhibition that you and I were just speaking about, led by the curator of the exhibition, Paige Talbot. And she'll be walking us through what the installation looks like now in the Kimmel Center and explaining why she made the curatorial decisions she did and what this exhibition is meant to leave us with. So I think it's a great teaser.
The interesting thing is the main wall in the lobby faces the bar. So you can't miss it when you walk in the door of the Kimmel Center.
Yeah, it's really, I can't wait until it's open again for everyone to go visit, including school groups, families, individuals. There are interactive components, including, and this is one of my favorite parts, a set of bicycles in the center of the Kimmel Center Live lobby, where you can ride one of the bicycles to see how much further we've come throughout history. And there's a fun bicycle tidbit. I hope I'm not boring anyone with these women's history tidbits, but bicycles were actually very important for the suffragist movement because they were a way for women to suddenly have independence, right? And to be able to get around on their own. And they changed not only the ability of women to drive their own lives, but also fashion in an interesting way. They prompted the onset of bloomers because it's difficult to ride a bicycle in a skirt.
That's true. Well, Lynn Yackel has always been one of my heroes.
Yes.
And I know that Women 100 and Vision 2020 is strictly, nonpartisan. But we do have to mention the fact that Lynn is one of the few women. There was one before her that was the Democratic candidate for United States Senate. She ran against oral inspector, and she came that close to winning the seat. Now there's at least one woman that's running for that nomination next year. But the first one who ran decades ago was Judge Genevieve Blatton. She ran against Senator Hugh Scott. She ran a great campaign. She ended up being a judge, but she didn't win the Senate seat. So Lynn was number two, and there was one other one, Katie McGinty, but Katie didn't win either. So we'll see what happens next year. But Lynn has always been a very strong advocate for women's rights and for women's place at the table.
Lynn is a strong advocate, and she's also an inspiration. I think in many ways she has changed the course of history by being someone that younger women such as myself can look to. I feel honored every day to be able to be part of a program that she envisioned and created and drives to this day.
Now, I don't know how she managed to break her collarbone, but that's the reason that she's not being interviewed. How did she break her collarbone? Did she have a bad fall, or do you know?
I don't know many of the details. I will say that Lynn is absolutely, she is one of the most hardworking people I know. There are plenty of things where I think a lesser person would have paused and taken some time, but Lynn is just absolutely dedicated to her vision and to the work, and nothing slows her down.
She lives in Lower Merion, so it's another reason I'm crazy about her. But let's talk about your background, because you didn't grow up around here, and I don't know how you found Swarthmore College.
So I grew up in California, and I whether this was
you came here for the weather. That's why.
So I actually only applied to one school, which was, in retrospect, not very smart of me, but I only applied to Swarthmore and was very happy when I got in.
You must have been very confident if you only applied to one school. Jeez.
I may have been confident. I probably was also just not looking forward to filling out all of those applications. College applications are so time intensive, but I was very happy and very lucky to come out here for school. And then after I graduated, I wanted to work in community organizing. And throughout my career, the main focus has been elevating underheard voices, right? And helping the people be represented in conversations that are important to all of our future. And so I was
climate advocacy was the first thing that was on your agenda.
Yeah, that's true. So I wanted to work on fixing climate change, and I was thinking about going back home to California and realized everyone there kind of agreed with me already. And so if I wanted to make a big difference, Pennsylvania was the place to be. And so I worked in the world of climate and clean energy for a number of years. The common thread, I think, between the work that I did then and the work I do now is this idea of helping the people's voices be represented and making sure that equality is key to the path forward.
How long have you been working with Lynn Yackel and Women 100?
Well, I'd have to do some math, but it's coming up on 2 years now. I came in shortly before the big 2020 year. And
I thought it was going to be the big year. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
In a different way.
It was still a big year. We did a lot during that year. One of the programs that I was most involved with was voter mobilization. So we're a nonpartisan group. From the very beginning, it was very clear we're not trying to tell anyone who to vote for, but we wanted to make sure that a record number of women got out there and cast their ballots in 2020. So we had a national mobilization within our network of groups across the country. And then we pivoted to make it a digital engagement competition. And I think it was actually, it was very successful in many ways. And we had a lot of fun with it. But there are things that we were able to do during this past year that we simply couldn't have imagined before. And going back to what we were saying, a lot of that is because of Lynn's stick-to-itiveness and creativity.
Also, Lynn has drafted to the movement literally hundreds of organizations across the country, individuals, corporate leaders, whatever. She must have gone through her Rolodex 100 times, and nobody says no to Lynn Yackel. So
that's been my experience.
If you've got an organization that you want to be involved, there's still time to be added to the list, right?
Absolutely. Allied organizations are still applying and joining the network now. Delegates who are individuals who are committed to this work are also applying and joining our ranks. So it's never too late to get involved.
I was going to say, the website is women100.org, right? Going to ask Vince Celli, our station manager, to put that on the screen so people can see it. Women100.org, and you'll find a whole list of all the dates, times, places, what's happening for, I wouldn't say the culmination, but it's another culmination of the celebration of women's right to vote.
Right.
Women of color say that they did not get the right to vote when white women got the right to vote. And it took a long time for people of color to also have voting extended to them.
It is very important to note that the experience of women of color in the United States has been different than the experience of white women. And we try to center that in our programming. It is so important to recognize that these issues are intersectional and to elevate the voices of women of color in these conversations.
I had taped an interview with Wanda Odom, who is, her husband, was a TV newscaster for decades. He recently retired. Wanda was on the communications committee with me with Women 100 and Vision 2020. So
I love Wanda, and she was actually our communications director for a good long while. Right. She is very, very core to this work, and
she succeeded Tracy Davidson, who's a good friend of mine, who used to live across the street from me.
Really?
Tracy chaired the communications committee originally for Women 100 and Vision 2020. She's a great supporter. She really is. And she's a star, what can I say? And not only that, but I love her because she doesn't wear false hair. That's her hair, Tracy Davidson, when you see her on NBC 10.
Well, she's got great hair. That is, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, Tracy is fantastic. She is a wonderful advocate. I have nothing but great things to say about her. She's one of those people who is always incredibly responsive and friendly and respectful to everyone. And that's something that really, that I really notice and appreciate.
And I have to give a shout out to Diane Semingson, who's also, she uses her Rolodex to attract people. And she's a mover and shaker in the regions, whatever, philanthropy, politics, nonprofits, you name it, Diane's there.
Absolutely. You're naming so many of my favorite people. And I think it does really just underscore how lucky we are to have this number and this quality of supporters who care deeply about these issues and are dedicated to lending their voices and their platforms to advancing equity.
David Cohen may end up being the United States ambassador to Canada. So we can just ask David, okay, get some Canadian organizations involved with us now. We'll make it international.
So at this point, Vision 2020 has been limited to the United States, but like I said, our national congresses are a time for all of us to come together and talk about what comes next. And coming out of Congress, one of our major goals is to launch the Bold New Agenda. And so I don't know what the future will bring. I know it's going to be exciting. And I know with all of these incredible movers and shakers involved, it's something I want to be part of too.
I guess Governor Wolf and the State Commission for Women must have a role also. Am I correct?
They're certainly supportive. I don't work directly with them, so I can't speak in much detail to that. But we have nothing but good things to say. And Therese Casey actually is deeply involved with Vision 2020 and has been an enormous advocate.
Oh, she's Senator Casey's wife. She's wonderful.
She's fantastic.
She is, with her 4 daughters. So she's got a vested interest in Women 2020. Yeah. Anyway, Elowyn, and we look forward to something that will prop up in the fall.
Yes, so August 26th. So after next month's event on the 15th and 16th, August 26th is the next big thing. And then
Taste of Tenacity.
Yeah,
Right.
Toast of Tenacity. And we are excited for what comes next after that. We'll be determining a lot of that at our National Congress and beyond, but it'll be good.
And it depends on how far the vaccination has reached and the percentages and there are still states where the coronavirus figures are going up every day, which is really sad and shocking. And the crazy people that are refusing to get vaccinated, I just don't understand that. Anyway, well, Elowyn Corby, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It has been such a pleasure. Thank you, Bonnie.
And we'll look forward to seeing you in action at the Congress.
Great. Looking forward to it.
So everybody, please go to the website women100.org, get all the information, and we'll see you next time.